Hello. I hope I can say hello again and that you've seen the previous 5 videos since they build on each other. From the previous video, you learned that one of the subsets of dyslexia, the L dyslexia group, showed deficits in one of the vision pathways, and that prevents smooth reading. You may remember that a saccade is the movement from one span of letters to the next. And the 2 subsets of dyslexia show differences in the lengths of saccades. And this relates to the visual deficit we talked about. The L dyslexia group has smaller and more saccades and shorter fixation durations. The P dyslexia group has larger and fewer saccades. An internationally acclaimed expert on learning disabilities and eye movements, George Pavlidis, stressed the value of using computerized eye instruments to diagnose eye movements because he found the most striking difference between normal readers and dyslexics was in regressions, looking back over print. Normal readers and mentally impaired readers show a consistent pattern, but dyslexics show erratic eye movements, with the regressions being sometimes larger than the preceding saccade. I was fortunate to have such eye movement instruments. They were called Visograph 2s at 3 schools. The first was part of a grant given to me by International Paper. The instruments consisted of goggles to detect eye movements, and the computer software determined the number of fixations, regressions, etc. Then I had the students use computer software that worked on their problems. Later, I will share how you can evaluate yourself or others without an instrument and exercises you can do without computer software. The research I did for my dissertation was on the long-term effectiveness of using eye training software. I tested 24 middle school students in my lab at the first of the school year using the Visograph, which, by the way, is no longer available, then had them do 60 sessions of computer eye exercises at reading practice that year, and tested them with the Visograph again at the end of the year, and then tested them again at the end of the next school year when they had done no work on their vision. I wanted to see if the improvement after the first year still held. It did. Improvement was considered significant on both post-test, with fixations, regressions, span, rate, and the cross-correlation of the 2 eyes working together. However, there was a slight decrease in improvement from post-test 1, the end of that first year, to post-test 2, the end of the second year. The mean of visual efficiency was grade 3.5 on the pre-test and went to grade 6.5 on the post-test 1, but it went to grade 6.3 on post-test 2. You can still see there was good improvement. Two examples show you how this work improves visual efficiency. One very bright 8th grade girl's eyes fixated 442 times instead of the grade norm of 109. She read the equivalent of 16 lines instead of the 10 lines because she reread lines. Her visual efficiency was grade 1.0 on the pretest. After using the eye training software for 60 sessions, her eyes stopped 124 times on the post-test, reading only 10 lines of print, and her visual efficiency was grade 7.7. Another 8th grade girl on the pretest had 20 anomalies, which is when both eyes moved in opposite directions, and her visual efficiency was grade 2.9. After using the eye training software for the 60 sessions, her visual efficiency was at grade 11.7. I might add that for the first few months, she would not even turn around and work on the computer because of her crossed eyes. That changed. This girl had what is called convergent insufficiency disorder, when the eyes aren't working together. Some are not as obvious as her problem with crossed eyes, or like a smart high school boy I had with a wall eye. He would not work on the computer for several months either. And once he started, he would make his friend wait for him to complete the work before going to lunch. And his eye problem was corrected by the end of the school year. As I said, sometimes this problem of cross-correlation of the eyes not working together is not obvious. So that is an advantage of using a computer instrument that could show me this. I will be suggesting possible ways to discover this at home without a computer. I'm going to suggest exercises you can do at home, but I give you that information on my research to show you the value of computerized eye training. You may be able to find programs through ophthalmologist clinics, or ones you subscribe to online, or ones you purchase to use at home. I used Reading Plus by Taylor Associates, which I cannot find now. But if you suspect convergence insufficiency disorder, the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota does work with this. I want you to be aware of the components of the eye training software that I felt helped the most. One, called a cystoscopic training method, had a lighted slot that moved across the print, covering up previously read words and uncovering the new words. You can make a slotted card and move it across the print, training the eyes to not regress. The other valuable component of the software I used flashed numbers on the screen and then flashed the same, but with one digit missing, and the student had to type in that number. At first, there were only 2 or 3 digits, and over time, this increased to about 6 digits. You can see how this increases a reader's span. At home, you can duplicate this using flashcards, one side with all the numbers and the other side with one digit missing. You can see how helpful it was to be able to use an instrument on the computer to evaluate the visual efficiency of my students' eyes and the software programs that help their problems. In the final video, I will show you how to do this at home when you don't have such an instrument, some eye exercises you can do, and a method of shared reading that prints words on the brain. I'm so glad you've come, and I hope to see you the next time.